mai. Kia ora arangatira mā. Welcome to the last council meeting of 2024. It has been a year, and I look forward to sharing some of that year with you shortly. Can I invite our Reverend David Van Overend up from St Matthew's Parish to share karakia with us. Very warm welcome to you, David. And it is wonderful to see what's happening in our beautiful Hastings Cathedral and the opportunities to have some nice space for our tamariki for the future, and we look forward to seeing that develop. Kia ora. Thank you.
Hello. It is wonderful to be with you. Couple of words of what's happening and then a prayer as you go into your meeting. So Ms. Sandra said that you'll have seen that there's things happening at St Matthew's School. We turn 30 next year, and we're at an absolute capacity roll. For the first time in its 30 years, we're sitting right on capacity. So they now are going to have a wonderful new playing field by the beginning of term 1 next year, which is really fantastic. We're going to be a bit short on car parking space, but we'll negotiate our way through that. It has not been too bad a year. I'm sure you will dwell on all the negatives and the big spends. But I think as someone who lives in the community, I want to say it's not been a bad year, and long may that last. We look at what's happening in businesses in Wellington, and they're struggling. And we know that some of our businesses are too, but we just got to keep ploughing forward. I'm thinking I was going to catch just to get some professional advice, but I think this year's vintage isn't looking too bad. And if I could encourage you into some Christmas cheer, if everyone drinks one bottle of Hawke's Bay produced wine, we will help our friends and whānau out. I am doing my best to support at least one winery. At least one. As you meet today, be proud of what you've achieved for us as your community. It is always easy to beat yourselves up and focus on the negative, but we've come a long way since COVID and Cyclone, and we need to celebrate that at this time. Enough said, you've got a lot of meeting. I want to offer a prayer that enters us into this festive space. Creator God, we praise you for your love in coming to us. Give us grace to accept the Christ who comes in your name and the courage to be Christ for others. We praise you and thank you, Creator God, for you have not left us alone. Each year you come to us, Emmanuel, God with us in a manger. Come. O come, Emmanuel, you are the way, the truth, and the life. Be present with us in this meeting, for your love's sake. Amen. May you have a very blessed, festive, don't drink and drive, but do drink and support our local industry.
Thank you, Reverend David. It was wonderful to see you, and we wish you and your whānau a very Merry Christmas too, and lovely to have you with us today.
Do I hit this again?
Thank you. Thank you. Apologies and leave of absence, councillors. I have apology from Councillor Kelly Jessup, who is at a tangi today and very disappointed she can't be with us today. No further apologies or leave of absence. Thank you. Councillor Henry Hickey has moved. Seconded Councillor Ana Apatu. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Conflicts of interest, councillors, as we come to any, we'll declare those at the appropriate time. Item 4, confirmation of minutes. Minutes of the council meeting held on Thursday the 24th of October and Thursday the 7th of November and Thursday the 28th of November. Could I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Watkins, and seconder, Councillor Malcolm Dixon. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you, that is carried. Just before I go into the a review and a report of the year, I just want to let you know, councillors, that I've invited our local Taekwondo to come and give a presentation at our afternoon tea break. They have represented Heretaunga Hastings on the world stage and they've done exceptionally well, and they're going to give a short demonstration. I think some of you have seen them. They'll be out there in the foyer at afternoon tea time. And you all know Ben Evans, and he's very excited about coming in to see you, and I thought that was a very good time to do that. First, before I go into my mirror report, I'd like to call up Councillor Heather Teo Skipworth and present her with her Making Good Decisions certificate. This is a very, very complex and difficult piece of work to do, and I know a number of councillors have undertaken this special work. And when Heather started and joined us, what month was that, Heather? Very recently, she was very quick to say, I would like to do this work and be part of the hearings and the RMA training. And we said, thank you very much, it'd be wonderful to have you. And she has passed this with flying colours. So I thank you for your hard work and commitment in achieving this very, very good qualification. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now, as I usually do each month, give the highlights of the month, but actually today it is important that we give, as our last council meeting, a few highlights of the year with some slides for our community who may have joined us, might like to see. So as we come to the end of a very, very busy year, I'd like to take the opportunity to reflect on what we have achieved in Heretaunga Hastings over the past 12 months. We're incredibly proud of everybody who has been involved. Our councillors, our staff, our community, our youth council, our tuia, and our wider development community who have made Heretaunga Hastings the most amazing place it can be. We have a lot to be thankful for. Our recovery from Cyclone Gabrielle is making great progress. It is wonderful to recognise the major milestone this month when the completion of the silt recovery work program and what has gone on over the last nearly 2 years. The removal of the cyclone sediment debris has seen around 7,000 hectares in our food producing area of Heretaunga and against 1,184 properties. And it's amazing to see the fruit trees and crops being replanted in these areas, and we're very grateful to see the rain today that will keep everything, get things moving and growing again. Another significant achievement has been the completion of the voluntary 3 buyout process. This Christmas will look very different for some of our families who will be living in different homes, who will be living in different neighbourhoods, and we acknowledge the hardship that they have been through. Restoring our transport network to reconnect our rural community has been progressing incredibly well. We look forward to opening new bridges and culverts in the new year and seeing roads and slips repaired and rebuilt. Can I thank the teams who have been across this work, the RRA, Chief Executive, Mr. Craig Thu, and everybody who's been involved working with the Crown to make sure we deliver our transport rebuild. Throughout this work of our recovery, we are incredibly grateful for the tireless efforts of our volunteers who have gone above and beyond to support our community in the most impacted areas of Cyclone Gabrielle. Our community leaders are now working hard to set up 30 emergency hubs across the district to be prepared and to be ready for future events. Can I acknowledge Regan and Bex for their amazing mahi in these resilience hubs that have been built and set up with amazing leadership, people who have been trained to help us prepare for future events. Providing more housing for our growing population has been a key focus for our council. It is exciting to have 39 new senior housing units being built in Blacksmere's town centre. And we will turn the sod, I think, next Friday with our local MP and our local councillor, so that'll be very exciting. And it has certainly been our fabulous Flaxmere's time. Along with the new senior housing, groundwork is complete for another 150 affordable homes to commence around the town centre in the new year. Our council is working very hard with our development community to secure a new Flaxmere supermarket to support the growing number of people who are living in the area. When you look around Hastings, you cannot believe what you're seeing in terms of housing developments and being built at pace. Flaxmere, Havelock North, Waipatu, everywhere we look, we see orange cones. That is a sign of progress, and it's great to see that these homes have been built for our whānau. We began this mahi 5 years ago through our Hastings Place housing plan, and will continue to work with the government, with our iwi partners, with developers, to deliver a range of housing options to enable people into their own home. Our growing population also means that we have to have fit-for-purpose, future-proofed infrastructure to service more people and more housing. This year, the first section of the critically important wastewater project, installing 10 kilometres of new pipes and pump stations between Flaxmere to Waipatu, was completed, or in the journey of. Supported by central government funding, this will ensure wastewater capacity is enhanced to meet the current and future needs of Flaxmere and of Hastings. Our city centre is truly looking fabulous. Aren't we so proud working with our development community? We are seeing the benefits of an increasing number of businesses who are investing in Hastings, from hospitality to professional services, retail, health providers, who can see the potential and value of investing in our city, which is growing, which is vibrant and very exciting. Our position as the economic powerhouse of Hawke's Bay remains strong. As well as in the city, we have significant developments happening in our industrial and commercial areas that support our primary sector. I have every confidence that in the next year, our district will continue to attract new opportunities for further investment. As we approach the festive season, I want to acknowledge all our 12,000 visitors who have enjoyed Waiaroha, who have learned about water and the importance of it. Can I acknowledge our amazing Youth Council? Can I acknowledge our tuia, Shannon and Harono, and their leadership? Today is about giving thanks and acknowledging the amazing work of our community. And as we approach the festive season, on behalf of all of us, Hastings District Councillors, staff, I wish you and your whānau a Christmas filled with happiness and joy. May 2025 be as prosperous, be as calm and bright, an amazing year ahead for everyone. And it gives me great pleasure now to move my report. It's a short report, but I think the photos say it all. What it shows is the importance of partnership, of us all working together. None of us can do anything on our own. It has been an amazing community that have achieved so much. And councillors, I thank you for all of your hard mahi. It has been an incredibly challenging year, and I take this opportunity to recognise you all and our amazing staff. I'm happy to move my report. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kerr, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That is carried. Right, now on to item 6. We have our tuia report, end of year report, and it is my very, very great pleasure to invite Councillor Teo Skipworth and Councillor Apatu to bring up our this year's tuia, Shannon and Harono, to give us their report on their year as young Māori leadership and their journey and what was exciting for them. These are an amazing wahine tour, and where I have been very, very honoured and grateful to work with them, to share their journey, to learn from them. And I am very excited that our leadership is in great hands. Welcome to you both. And both Heather and Anna, you might like to introduce our tuia. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou katoa. It's with pleasure that I'm introducing our tuia, but tinged with a bit of sadness to say also that this is the completion of their mentoring year with us. And just to highlight the commitment that you two tuia have shown during the year. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but there's quite a bit involved with mentoring with our mayor, support from our councillor, just to acknowledge Councillor Jessup, who isn't here today, Councillor Heke and Councillor Teo Skipworth, and of course Emma James behind the scene, making it all work. It's just been a pleasure as part of my year as councillor to be involved with these tutoia. They're amazing leaders. Shannon with her health background, sitting at Te Whare Tāpere with Haranoa and her commitment to the kura there has just been amazing. So just to acknowledge you both.
I just want to say thank you to you both. It's always lovely to work with rangatahi because you feel like they de-age you, but it's been a reciprocal mentorship, I think, so I just want to say that.
The floor is yours. The floor is yours. Okay. Where that presentation? Yes, there's a clicker here.
Tēnā tātou, we are the 2024 tuia. Ko Shannon o katoa kuingoa he iri tēnei ngās kauguni ki te Wairoa, te whānau apunui me Ngāi Tahi anō hoki. Kia ora tātou e te whare, ko Kahurana ki te maunga, ko Ngaruraro te awa, ko Paukawa te waiu, ko Takitimu te waka, ko Kahurana ki te marae, ko Ngai Te Rangi koe ana ki te hapu, ko Ngā Tika Hungunu ki here taunga te iwi. Ko Haruno Mariana hoki a ngā hau. Kia ora everyone, I'm Haruno. I spoke to you guys a little bit earlier in the year about our experience, but now we're showing you guys the full picture. So today we're just going to go through each part of like what tuia has done for us and what the kaupapa kind of has looked like for us. So yeah, first, obviously, tuatahi tukimihi ki te kaunihira for the support that our mayor has given us, our councillors and Emma and Mary, and even our youth councillors, like showing us the future that our council has and how much our community actually has a say. Like how we were here for voting for our Māori councillors, like to see the room full gives me hope for what local governments should be, everyone having a say. For my experience with the Kaunihira, I've had a little bit of a background with the council. I was a ex-alumni of the youth council a long time ago, but being one of this year's tuia has given me the opportunity to come back into this space and also share space with our lovely youth council. I've had the opportunity to sit in with them in quite a few of their meetings, and I have to say that even though we're rangatahi, the ideas and the things these kids have to offer the world is truly amazing, and I really enjoyed that part of being within the council. Also working alongside our Takitimu ward and Mayor Sandra, you know, the pool of knowledge these people have, and they're willing to share their kete mātauranga with us and take the time out to really help us. It's been really, really great to experience. Our experience through tuia, we've learnt that quite a lot of other councillors aren't as caring for their tuia. A lot of them are forgotten or haven't met their mayor or aren't as mentored as well as we are here. So we are grateful and fortunate that we are cared for and supported. So I really like to thank you all. So now we're going to go through the wānanga. So how tuia works is we've got 5 wānanga around Aotearoa, 4 that are in the North Island and 1 that's in the South Island. So we're just going to share a bit of background between each wānanga, what it represents and kind of what we got from each wānanga. So this is the whakapapa of each wānanga. It follows this tau parapara of tuia i runga, tuia i raro, tuia i roto, tuia i waho, tuia i te here tāngata. So tuia i runga, to weave above, to weave above, to weave to those that came before us. So it was an opportunity for us to take a step back and to remember our tepuna, our whakapapa. So we did our first wānanga in Waikato Tainui at Te Kotahitanga Marae. So this marae is the marae of Kingi Pōtātou Te Whirowhiro Te Tuatei. So he's the first Māori king, and this marae was formed for his iwi. The cultural richness there was just amazing. We got to go through one of their caves. So the chief, Rewi Maniapoto, he had many homes throughout Waikato, and this cave here in the photo was one of his homes he used over summer. So yeah, it was a really, really special place to be. In this wānanga, we really got to dive deep in who we are and who our ancestors were and how we can share our kōrero with each other. Like, the first wānanga I found out, I had two cousins there that lived around the country and we were closely related. And we got to learn the importance of everyone's names and how their names came to be. And a lot of our rangatahi have, tipuna names or names their grandparents gave them. I myself was named after my grandmother, who sadly passed away 2021. And that wānanga made me really appreciate and value those lessons our tipuna have left for us.
Yeah, tuia runga, going into a space, especially for me, I didn't grow up in Te Ao Māori, I grew up in Australia, so feeling a bit whakama about, will I be able to understand, do I only know haranoa, like how does a wānanga work? It was all very new to me, but I think our council choosing two of us, I already felt safe because I already had my friend. And so going there, even though I only had one, I felt like I knew everyone because I already had someone that was to support me. And I think that was the biggest thing I got from Tuia Runga is like, even though we don't know each other, there was still a safe space that was created by our tuakana who volunteer to come back. And so Runga being whakapapa, I think for me it was remembering who I am. Like, it doesn't matter the way that I've been brought up, I can still change. And I can still change my future, but by remembering my whakapapa is how you change that future. You need to know who you are to go forward. So that takes us to Tuia Iraro, which is to we from below. For this wānanga, it was expressed through the taiao. So the whakaaro around the wānanga was, if we nurture our taiao, the taiao will nurture us. Without nature and natural resources, there will be no earth for us to stand on, pretty much. The thing with Raro is coming back, I only had one friend, but now I had a village. Even though we hadn't seen each other for 2 months, I had already built those connections. But yeah.
Tui Raro for me, we had to go on 5 different excursions, and my favourite excursion is called Catfish Killers. So if you don't know, Lake Rotorua has a crazy amount of catfish in the roto, and it's now gone through Rotoiti. So they've made up this kahui of people that have set traps all along the roto to catch the fish. So my group have the opportunity to catch the fish and reset the lines and stuff and kill the fish. A lot of the tuia had a problem with killing the fish, and I, for one, didn't, because I looked at it as this creature shouldn't be here in an hour. They are bottom feeders, so they eat all our natural plants that grow below, and also all the native fish that swim in the roto. The native fish there have really decreased in size and numbers because of the catfish, so they're really a big problem. And the initiative they have set up is that all the kura that are close by the roto, they all have their own nets and stuff, and so every afternoon the kids go out and go get the fish and put them in the fish graveyard. But that experience as well, my main takeaway from that is a lot of tuia don't come from backgrounds like myself. I've grown up fully immersed in the kaupapa. I went to Te Kura Kaupapa Māori o Te Wānanga Wharatapere o Takitimu, so pretty immersed within everything. And just to see that my other mates, you know, a lot of this stuff is quite new to them, and getting out in the tile, getting out in the river and stuff like that is a bit strange for them, but I think it was really awesome to see that. Yeah, I think that was one of my favourite wānanga. Yeah, I think the highlight for this wānanga was us being kaitiaki for the day, but also teaching us how to be kaitiaki forever, how we pass that on. And I think the highlight was that although some of us had big titles or had really big education backgrounds, all of us were the same people when we're out in the taiao. We remove all those external things, and the only purpose for us is to be kaitiaki, to nurture our whenua. So tuia I roto, to weave within. This wānanga was about ourselves, and this wānanga we were asked to do a presentation about ourselves and our life story, I suppose. This wānanga was quite challenging to participate in, only because just the amount of things, you know, we all carry, or the things we have all gone through in our lives, it's a bit difficult to tell other people or talk about ourselves. Some people have trouble talking about ourselves. In Te Ao Māori, you know, we don't tend to boast about ourselves, you know, don't want to be a kumara or anything. But this wānanga really challenged us to look within and really dig deep. This wānanga was really challenging for myself. I've been through quite a lot for a young person, and I'm a really resilient person with all the things that's happened in my life. And I was able to share a lot of difficult stories with everyone. So at the marae, we created a safe space and set out rules like, if you're uncomfortable, please leave the room, blah, 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 blah. That was something that made me more sure in telling my story. And I wasn't the only one that had trouble telling the story of themselves, but just to be able to be around like-minded people in a safe space really made that wānanga really special. A lot of people throughout the wānanga dipped out in a lot of the wānanga. Me and Shannon have gone to all 5. And yeah, honestly. And with that, this group of people in Roto, we were really able to make strong friendships. So a lot of the people in this photo are really great friends of mine now. So yeah, that was a little bit about Roto.
Yeah, Roto for me was pretty hard. We got told a month earlier that we had to prep our presentation, and I didn't do one because I didn't really want to talk. And like public speaking for me has never really been something that I prefer. I prefer the smaller groups. So to come out and be vulnerable in front of all these people you've met 4 months ago to tell your whole life story was very daunting for me. But after listening to all the kōrero and hearing that what people were sharing, I was realizing that we're actually just weaving together. It's like, how do we build meaningful connections if I'm not even willing to be part of the process? And I think that's what I learned. So I did my presentation in like 2 hours just before I presented. But one of the things that we had set for our tikanga to keep us safe during heavy kōrero was that we have to mihi to everyone that stood up. And so being able to mihi to my friend who I had met 4 months ago, and then hearing your kōrero, like, now you're my sister. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the point of tuia I roto, is like, how do we build those relationships if you're not even willing to let anyone in? And that's kind of what I got. It's like, you know, tuia is also a part of being leadership, and how are we going to be a leader if we don't know who we are?
Kia ora.
So tuia waho, we were very lucky to have it out in Puketapu at Wharerangi. So tuia waho is to weave externally or around you, which was expressed through serving our communities. What does service look like to us, and how do we want to incorporate service into our daily lives?
For me, for this wānanga, actually throughout all Wananga, I am very proud to be a descendant of Kahungunu, and I spoke freely about being proud of where I come from, being proud of being Hastings District Mayor, and Tuia, and me, no. And being Ngāti Kahungunu ki Heretaunga, I'm very staunch, very proud of that, and so all our mates throughout the Wānanga knew how much I love my home, and to be given the opportunity to show off my home and where we come from was really amazing. I think one of the key takeaway for a lot of the other tuia is to be proud of their home, be proud of their heritage, be proud of where they come from, because I'm very proud to come from small Hastings, and this wānanga, we got to go out into the community and just help anyone. So one of the rōpū went to Auntie's garden and dug up a new kumara garden, and my rōpū, we went to Kimiora School over in Flaxmere and had a tour around that kura and got to learn more about their curriculum and what they offer for their students. And so yeah, this wānanga was really cool.
Yeah, especially because we were really privileged to have Tipene talk, because this is his whare. And so when he was in Tuia 2013, 20 earlies, he had shared his whakaaro that he wanted his marae, which was just a wharekai at that point, to have a wharenui. And so for me, his service through the people had created his dream, which was us sitting in the whare. And to have that full cycle, which was like the seeds that Tuia had sown into him, had now fruitioned into a Tuia rōpū being at his wharenui.
Tuia Te Here Tangata, this is to weave together as one. This was our last wānanga, and this was in Upper Hutt at Orongo Marae. This wānanga was a great but sad one, as we were all coming into our last wānanga. A lot of emotions were really high, and we were there to get the most of the experience that was left. A lot of our tuia from all around the country really, really enjoyed their time, and for us to be able to spend this last wānanga together was really special. You know, most nights we'd finish up at 12 o'clock in the night just talking about kōrero. This wānanga, everyone went to bed at 4 o'clock. Everyone was just sitting in the wharekai playing yuka, you know, exchanging stories and singing waiata. And I think that's like my tipena's dream, is to, you know, have our rangatahi sit together and talk about different topics and things they're passionate about, and sharing waiata. I think that's like a really special thing. And at the end of our wānanga, we had to do a celebration. We gave little presentations and stuff about our year to whānau members and other councillors that were able to attend the celebration. That was a cool experience. I was chosen to lead one of the waiata. I grew up being in the second row, hiding away, doing my own thing, but tuia's really helped me open up and be confident in leading waiata and doing those types of things. So that picture there is me leading a waiata, and I think that's a really big accomplishment for myself.
Yeah, even for the celebration dinner, we were able to invite whānau, and so my family had come from Wairo and from Hastings, and just for them to have some sort of understanding of like what our year has been, instead of our daughter's in Waikawa at the moment, she's actually in Maniapoto, they're like, where is my kid going? And so to be able to show them like this is what the kaupapa is, like these connections. And I actually had met a lot that were from my marae back in Rangiahua and Frasertown, and so one of the tuia, she ends up being really closely related to me. And so her koro that she brought, and my parents had actually realised how closely we related. We come off the same, like a different sibling of the same line. And so after this, we actually were able to take her home to Amarai and Rangiahua, and we performed for Pāhaka. So just seeing like we are literally woven together, like we have met our families, and this is like the future, I guess, of even though all the wānanga have finished, the wānanga will never finish.
Yeah.
The impact of Tuia. So this year has been a challenging but great year for myself. This year I got to celebrate my baby's first birthday. I was given the position to manage a cafe, and my partner and I were able to buy our first home. And yeah, I'm only 22, and the things I've achieved so far are pretty amazing. And this kaupapa, I feel like if I didn't attend or participate in this kaupapa, I don't think those things would have happened for myself. Tuia has really helped me regain confidence I had lost through high school. And, you know, it's brought me back into being the leader I used to be and that I know I can be. And for that, I'm really grateful for this kaupapa. It's really hard to explain or put into words our experience because it's undescribable, but in the best way possible. It's one of the best things that's happened to me, and I'm very passionate about this kaupapa and what it has to offer for our rangatahi Māori. I feel like these types of kaupapa are really important at the moment with everything going on. I feel like it's a hard time to be Māori, and for this kaupapa to really nurture and flourish these types of important skills and kōrero and wānanga for our rangatahi Māori. You know, I really look forward to future Tuia participating. I keep telling my mates and friends, it's like, hey, you need to go sign up, you know. So you don't have a choice, you're going. You're going to love it. It's the best experience ever. And so I'm very grateful for this kaupapa. Yeah, and the same for me. Like this kōrero had resonated with me because I feel like Tuia, you learn, like, what do you actually want? Like, why are we putting barriers in place? And a lot of the times we have things called dream sessions with Matua Marcus, and it was like, what do you want from life? Why are we putting barriers on it? How are we going to actually get it? Let's have a step plan of like how that's going to fruition rather than, oh, I can't do that because it's too hard. I can't do this because I'm too young. Like, how do we actually do it? And so that kōrero really resonates of like what I think the āhua, the essence of Tuia is for us being leaders. But Tuia, so the first photo up the top, my auntie did Tuia in 2024, so 10 years ago. And so Tuia has been part of my life for 10 years, but I didn't actually know it. I remember I applied and I was like, man, I'm in this kaupapa called Tuia. And she's like, I did Tuia 10 years ago. You used to come to the wānanga. And I was like, eh? But I think for me, because my first cousin, her son, his first language is Te Reo Māori, and that wouldn't have happened without Tuia. So I had already seen the seeds of Tuia that were sown in her that already started to grow through the next generation. And like to me, it's really hard to describe Tuia because it's not necessarily something you can put words to, it's more of a feeling. Like, you know, feeling supported by our counsellors and our mayor being excited to see us each breakfast. And like having my mate and seeing how much we've grown, you can't really put words on that. And even like for me, how I talked about us going to Pāhaka, the one on the right at the top is me performing at Pāhaka with one of my marae, and down the bottom is all the Tuia that whakapapa to Wairua that were there that day. And so that's about 8 years of Tuia that we still weave together, even though our last one had finished in November. And so I think for me, it's more like what do we actually want and how can we actually get it is what Tuia has given me. how can I be a leader by having genuine intentions, which were woven through Tuia e Roto. I know who I am, so now I know where I'm going. And now that I've woven externally to Tuia i Waho, now I know the community that I serve, and for me to be a voice for them instead of telling them what I think that they need, kind of thing. But yeah, you can't really describe Tuia, you just have to experience it.
Yeah. Tēnei te mihi ki a koutou katoa, ngā kai whakarongo, ngā kai hāpai, ngā kai mahi o tēnei kaunihira o tātou. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for listening to our TED Talk and allowing us this time to express our gratitude, but also to relay our kōrero and wānanga we had over the year. For that, we are very grateful. Nō reira, tēnei te mihi, tēnei te mihi, tēnei te mihi.
E mai ui kia whakatahi,
Ki whakatahi rā, tātou e. Tūtira mai mai iwi, tātou e. Tūtira mai mai iwi, tātou e. Pai a te maramatanga, me te aroha e ngai iwi, kia whakatahi, kia whakatahi rā, tātou e. Tātou e. Pio wehi.
a tui ai runga, tui ai raro, tui ai roko, tui ai waho, a tui ai te muka tangata i tākia mai, Hawaii ki nui, Hawaii ki roa, Hawaii ki pāmāma. A tēnei te min hoki kia kōtau, a kia kōrua, ngā tauira o tātou, i te wā ka whaiwhai, te whaiwhai, o te toi tū te reo, a me te tiriti, i wainirui a tātou ne motu. Hei whainga mā tauranga a ngā kaunihira katoa. Nā reira, he tuku mihi kia kōrua. Massive that you've been the opportunity to go around the country, navigate, search, seek out, and find those ancestral lines, those ancestral fabrics that bind you together, as you said, above, below, within, and without. And not only that, but also to navigate the space that can be hard at times. But from the kōrero of your ancestor, tika tonu ue. At times it's going to be hard, but if you persist in trying, you will overcome any obstacle that you see fit. So, kia ngā amare kura, hei tautoko, hei poipoi ia, mātou nei rangatai mua popo, e mi ana hoki kia koutou. Awairua Kelly, nā reira, tēnei te mihi kia koutou. It's massive that you're able to do that, come back and present to us, and fulfill your obligations as 2 years here.
Kia ora. Ngā mihi nui. Can I just ask you one question before you finish? You've told me that you're going to give back to Tui. Can you just tell our team what that looks like for you and where you'll be next year?
So I'll be in my last year of nursing down at Massey. Yay, one more year. But yeah, with the Annie Anaru Scholarship, my kōrero was the whole reason to get that mātauranga is to come back and serve my people, to get that knowledge so that I can give back to the ones who gave to me, which created the person that I am today. For me, I don't think this will be the last time you guys will be seeing me. So I'm heavily involved with our youth council, and Emma and I have some works in the processing at the moment. So yeah, I'll be around.
And Harono, there is an election next year. And, you know, leadership is, you know, moving on into upwards in leadership. So just park that seed out there. Thank you for your amazing kōrero. Thank you for your incredible journey, sharing that today with us. I have said it before, but I have been proud to serve alongside you. You're outstanding wahine, and we love your mahi. We love your vision, your direction for our people's future. And thank you for everything that you've shown us and shared and put into the Tuia program this year. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa.
Thank you.
So councillors, item 6, we like a mover and a seconder for this report. Councillor Upperton and Councillor Teo Skipworth. Thank you. A mover and a seconder. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Thank you, team, for your amazing report and your incredible year and the contribution you've made to Heretaunga Hastings. Item 7, councillors, is our Youth Council 2024 end of year presentation. It is my pleasure now to invite the Chair, Chris Proctor, and perhaps our councillors who have worked with the Youth Council may like to bring our Youth councillors up and to give their presentation. We've also got the Deputy Chair, Brian Stepford, and we've also got, thank you. Could you all come up and the councillors bring you up and may like to introduce you, but and we're excited about hearing your report and what an outstanding year you have had. And we're very, very proud to have worked alongside you. Councillors, could I ask you to put your devices down for this presentation? Thanks. Thank you. This is a very, very important report, and I want everybody to make sure that they fully understand, as we have heard through the year, the importance of getting the youth voice across our organisation and to be firmly cemented in our structures and frameworks of council. Our Youth Council have made a significant contribution this year. They have created their own long-term plan, and that is the first time we have seen that, a long-term plan created by a Youth Council. They have also learnt and been, I heard today from one of the chairs saying that the youth councillors were outstanding in one of our subcommittees in their contribution. I've also heard from members of our community to say the fundraising grants, youth grants that they received from the Youth Council has gone to giving back to the community. So everywhere I go, I hear outstanding things from this group and about their hard mahi. They also set us a challenge through the year about how they could get their voice cemented in our structures and frameworks, and it is highlighted to us that our systems and processes need to have a strong youth voice. On that note, I hand you over to the Chair, Chris Proctor. Kia ora.
Thank you, Mayor Sandra. Absolute pleasure to be here. It's the Christmas spirit, so we'll try and weave a bit of that through our speech. Can I firstly just, Mihi, thank you for your speech. It's been awesome working with you this year, and I think all of us in the room can see that you're both pretty awesome. So, Mayor Hazelhurst, councillors, staff and friends, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Today marks the 14th time that 2024 Hastings Youth Council has sat in the chambers, this time around the outside rather than in your guys' seats. But it marks the end of a journey that's had a lot of ups, a few downs and a heck of a lot of potholes, but we're intact, satisfied and proud.
To the young man at my old primary school who's destined to life in a wheelchair, we see you.
To the eager rangatahi who's looking for a job but can't quite find one, we see you.
To the young wahine whose voice has been held back for too long, we see you.
To rangatahi across Heretaunga Hastings, we see you, we hear you, and we're here for you.
So thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you today. I think our two greatest feelings today are gratitude and pride. We're super grateful for your support throughout the year, and I'm proud of what we've achieved.
It's been a heck of a year for all of us. We are most grateful for our learning throughout this year, that we can agree, disagree and debate, but enjoy each other's company once it's over. We're grateful to you as councillors for the work you do for our community. If this year has taught us anything, it's that the work you do is tough and often thankless, but so, so important. Our deepest respects to anyone who stands for public office, because it truly, obviously, isn't easy. Thank you for mentoring, supporting, challenging, and stimulating our work this year.
We're most proud, however, of what we've achieved this year. Here's a look back, a quick snapshot of what we've achieved throughout 2024. So we started the year with our signature youth grants program. It was awesome to have that be started back up again. It was spearheaded by Youth Councillor Keaton Pitcher and Council official Kev Carter. And we ran a big advertising campaign. We built a new set of criteria, enhanced with a new community impact focus. So we tried to bring the Young Enterprise Scheme into that process, which has been really awesome. It's awesome also to have so many young enterprise businesses represented from Hawke's Bay. There were so many people that they had to split them into two groups, which was awesome. And it was incredible to be a part of that. So we fundraised over $2,000 with a sausage sizzle at Countdown. That was cool. And most importantly, we supported 8 young people financially. From Young Enterprise Scheme to Kayak Nationals in Portugal next year, they're all pretty excited and we're proud of our impact. We had a total of 60 applications and over $30,000 of funding demand. So that was massive, and same thing next year.
We submitted on the council draft long-term plan and visited several high schools, including Kaumu, Woodford and Havelock High, to encourage young people like ourselves to submit to our long-term plan. We see submissions to council or regional council as a good way to make our voices heard.
After submitting to the LTP, we started thinking a little bit about what it would take to build our own one. And so we worked off the Hastings District Council youth strategy and to make a 5-year youth council long-term plan with clearly actionable goals that future youth councils can refer to. Because coming into youth council is sort of like a blank slate, and if we can sort of give back something that others can use, I think that'll be really useful. So our overall theme for the next 5 years is whakawhanaungatanga, connections. Specifically, we split it into 4 sections: connections within the youth council, connections within the wider council, connections with youth, and connections with the wider community. So we consulted with over 100 young people to make and adopt our draft LTP at the end of the year's celebration. And additionally, we made a how to youth council document guide to help future youth councillors coming through to navigate, like for example, how to run a youth grants program, because there's heaps of different parts to kind of put together. And it's a really nice document. And I think if someone wants to do a youth grants program, they can go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and we might be able to halve the time that we do it in. So cool. I think both the LTP and the guide will make sure that youth council becomes more consistent and effective as we head into the second half of the decade in the next 5 years.
As you know, we are on a voting rights journey. We sparked a national conversation, filling the council chambers, making headlines and laying a strong advocacy foundation. Whether you agree or disagree, whether it happens or not, it was good to have the conversation, and thank you for that opportunity.
We stood alongside Mayor Sandra at Anzac Day at the beginning of the year to lay a wreath and to honour those who've come before us.
We supported the Hawke's Bay Volunteering Awards and Blossom Festival, Toitū Te Reo and the Toitū Te Reo Festival, and ran the Youth Potential Award ceremony with a packed chambers.
We were lucky enough to have the opportunity to sign an open letter to Youth Employment Aotearoa, urging government leaders to enhance employability support programs in schools.
We collaborated with Napier Youth Council and celebrated Youth Week with a quiz night and shared picnic, strengthening the bond between the two organisations.
We launched the Hawke's Bay Youth Database. That's an awesome opportunity that I don't think enough people know about. It pretty much brings together all of the youth support services across the Bay into one accessible platform, and it's got budgeting, counselling, job search and the like, so definitely check that out.
We increased our social media engagement to over 2,000 followers across platforms through our hard-working communications and marketing team.
We partnered with Toitū Te Reo Festival and organised cultural competency training within our group, fostering understanding and respect.
We embraced values of whakawhanaungatanga, connections, and introduced a new initiative to provide personal support and guidance for youth counsellors. Fun events like Rush Monroe's after meetings and laser tag throughout the year were the result.
Proud to say that Rush Monroe's, we're the biggest supporters of Rush Monroe's in the Bay. I think we should get some fundraising and sponsorship from them at some stage. We represented our youth council nationally in Wellington at Festival for the Future. That was an awesome opportunity to connect with hundreds of rangatahi and bring in those leadership skills and inspiration back to Taonga Hastings. And it was also cool to just rep the council logo in Wellington.
We were actively involved with the council through attending 3 meetings with Mayor Sandra and countless subcommittee meetings to bring the youth voice to the council table.
We built on our connections and invited local MP Catherine Weed to discuss youth issues and build bridges between the rangatahi and local leadership. And we're proud to say she's committed to coming back next year for a regular slot, and we'll also be speaking to our Ikaroa Rāwhiti MP, Kushla Tangaire Manuel, and invite those 2 MPs to come speak with us so we can build those connections in the future. It was awesome to host Catherine in the chamber this year, and we learned heaps. If I had to distill the year down into a few sentences, it would be that it isn't easy standing up for what you believe. In fact, it's pretty hard. And I think all of us around this table know what that's like. But if you don't stand for anything, you fall for everything. So as 2024 draws to a close, we hope everyone gets a well-deserved break and time off with family around the barbie. And it's been a big year, but once again, cheers for everything, and we'll see you next year.
Well, ngā mihi nui, you guys, and before you sit down, I think that there may be some questions or comments that councillors may wish to make, so it's not all about me. Is anybody wishing to add anything before we move those recommendations? Councillor Eke?
A whai titi kaurangi ki te tūhuku me he maunga teitei. Search for those treasures, and if you're to bow, let it be to a lofty maunga. Koena te whakaro o te rangatai, I te waka nohi I wainganui te tepu, I wainganui te hāpuri o tātou nā reira. E tuku mihi kia koutou, kia whawhai nā whawhai. Rai ki te rai, pakahiwi ki te pakahiwi. Kei a koutou ngā rangatira mo a popo. There's a saying that says, seek those treasures, and if you're to bow, let it be to a lofty maunga. And it's a pertinent one for the trials and tribulations and the accolades that you've spoken about this afternoon. The fact that you come back is actually where respect and integrity is earned and honoured. And as a councillor, I acknowledge you 3 and the many that aren't here, our wairua, that support you, because you are and you do decide the fate of all of us tomorrow. And on that note, it was a pleasure listening to your kōrero, a pleasure having the debate in council, outside of council, on the phone, and I acknowledge you for that. Kia kaha, kia maia, kia manua nui. Tēnā koe. Tēnā koutou.
Councillor Apatu.
Kia ora, through you, Madam, thank you, Sandra, Mayor Sandra. I just specifically wanted to acknowledge 2 youth councillors who sit on the Community Wellbeing Subcommittee, and one is here today, Faizon, thank you so much, and the other one is Peter Hanna. Now, these 2 are diligent, they come prepared, they've read all their notes, they contribute, and I think if you hadn't been at the table, we wouldn't have had that youth representation or that youth voice. So I am thanking you on behalf of our subcommittee for being such amazing members and speaking up on behalf of Rangatahi Heretaunga.
Councillor Apatu, can I just ask you, because I wasn't at your subcommittee meeting, but could I just ask you if you could just share some of the kaupapa that the Youth Council contributed that you thought was exceptional?
Yep, there was a Waiaroha policy update, and so our youth councillors were very proactive about how engaging young people with our Waiaroha facility, and particularly around the schools and education. There was fantastic feedback with our Toi Toi review as well, and how do we engage rangatahi more to our functions, to festivals, etc. There was also brilliant engagement around an update with our Flaxmere Community Centre, where basketball, and that's a passion of Faizon's, that how can we engage fastest growing sport in Aotearoa. How can we push that along and engage our young people that may not have that opportunity? So they're only just some of the things that they... and particularly our vaping presentation. So that was our community member was Subdeep, who's a champion. He started his passion with a vape shop opening next to Rodeka School, where his child was attending school. So that sprung from there, and this is where our rangatahi are critical. How do we ensure that we protect and ensure our well-being for our rangatahi, our young people? So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you, Councillor Apatu. Thank you for sharing that. Councillor Sholom.
Thank you, Worship. I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge that each and every one of our youth councillors are a volunteer. And I think they've mentioned earlier in their presentation that they had a minimum of 14 meetings in here, and that's not counting all the hours of engagement they had with the rangatahi across our district to get them interested in our long-term plan, to get them interested in their long-term plan, and also the countless meetings, I think, outside of that they had in order to make sure that they were forming the voice of rangatahi. I'd also like to take a moment to, in particular, acknowledge Bowen. Bowen is in his third year on the Youth Council and his last year, and I want to thank you for that commitment, Bowen, because that's significant. I also want to acknowledge Chris as the chair of the Youth Council. This has been a particularly big year. Your Youth Council set that at the start of the year, and as the front-facing leader of that, you really had to drive it all, and I acknowledge that came with its ups and downs. Faison, I'm so glad you're coming back next year, and I really look forward to seeing what happens with you and how you contribute towards the ongoing growth of the Youth Council. And can I commend you all and all of the individuals of this year's Youth Council for succession planning, for future-proofing, for making sure that rangatahi's voice is elevated year on year. Well done, team.
Well, thank you, Councillor Sholom. Well said. Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I've had the privilege of hearing many Youth Council reports, and I would say that's the best I've heard. You're going from strength to strength every year. So thank you, Emma, for your guidance that you've given the Youth Council and also the councillors that have been involved with them. I understand your planning and the preparation you're putting into everything you're doing. So well done, and enjoy your Christmas festivities, and also best wishes for your exam results.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Well said. Can I just ask the team, Emma and your team, who have worked so hard with our Youth Council, would you wish to stand, and we would like to congratulate you and acknowledge you. Thank you. And can I thank you? I agree with Councillor Dixon. That was an exceptional report. You are true leaders, and we are immensely grateful for your leadership. It's not easy to be out there, to put yourself out there, and as you said, Chris, to believe in something and to believe in your conviction and believe in what is right, despite others not agreeing. And that is the importance of leadership. And I want to thank you. I said at your end of year breakup that every year I say how much I've enjoyed working with the Youth Council, but this year has been an exception. You have shown incredible leadership, and we're excited about next year. We're excited about the 4 steps of getting the youth voice into our processes and systems and our organisation, and making sure that we get your voice loud and proud amongst every part of the kaupapa that we deliver for our people. So, yes, all the very best for a nice break, for Christmas break, and we look forward to working with you in the new year. Ngā mihi nui, kia ora. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris. Merry Christmas. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Barrow, Councillor Sholom. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That is carried. Thanks, team. Bye. See you 2025. Right. Thank you very much. Item 8 is the Chief Executive Year in Review. I now hand over to Chief Executive Nigel to take us through the year, CE year.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good afternoon, councillors. Look, I do want to speak briefly to the report. 2024 has been a significant year for our community and for the council. It's been a year that's been heavily dominated by year 2 of recovery post-Cyclone Gabrielle. I want to place quite a bit of emphasis on the fiscals of the year in review. So it is worth reflecting that in year 2, a lot's been achieved. You know, the silt program is closing, having moved millions of cubic metres of silt with over $200 million of government funding to do that work. The VBO is closing just over a year from opening, where we have supported our most impacted families with a pathway out of Category 3. The forecast fiscal position for the completion of that program is $91 million, of which $47 million, so $3 million under the council's cap is the final forecast position. We have secured $4 million of funding from Red Cross, DIA and MPI to do all of the work, and I again reinforce the Mayor's thanks to Bex and Regan and all the staff involved in getting 44 community resilience hubs underway and stood up. I do want to acknowledge Craig Thu and the transport team. Say it quickly, $381 million of transport response and recovery funding at either full or elevated subsidy levels has been secured from government. Of that, $245 million has been spent or contracted. What that means for the community is, in addition to the initial response, we have rebuilt the Tūtera Crystal Culvert. We are nearing completion on the rebuild of Kereru Gorge. We do have Puketapu, Matapiro and Risington bridges under design or construction, and our contractors are busy on the network on slips and repairs and culverts at Glengarry, Puketitiri, Dartmoor and Taihape Road. So it's been a significant year of delivery in the recovery space. But it's important to note that whilst it's the most dominant thing, it builds on what was a busy council with your long-term priorities. Infrastructure heavy, on being the economic powerhouse, on Three Waters, in particular the response to Havelock North and the drinking water program, and on housing. And so it is a year where we've completed the drinking water program, circa $100 million. And as Mayor Sandra said, 12,000 visitors through the Waiaroha Discovery Centre. I do want to acknowledge that in the year since it's been open, it has received 7 national awards, and this week was named as a finalist in 2 of the 8 categories in the IPWA Engineering Excellence for Public Infrastructure for both Water Project of the Year and for Environmental and Sustainability. So, it continues to be recognised for what I think is, an amazing component part of what was a 6-year investment program in response to Havelock North. Mayor Sandra reflected on her year in review. Fabulous Flaxmere, the 11 new streets that have been unveiled, the 3 subdivisions that we're excited about seeing move into construction that builds on Whāriki and Korowai Crescents having been completed as our first subdivision. I do want to reflect, Your Worship, for a couple of minutes on a lot of what we do is long term. And you might not remember this, Mayor Sandra, but 5 years ago to the day, Thursday, the 12th of December 2019, we were at Waipatu Marae with then Ministers Nanaia Mahuta and Megan Woods announcing the place-based housing pilot for Hastings. It is worth reflecting what was happening in Hastings at that time in 2019. The government was spending $20 million a year on motel accommodation in Napier and Hastings, $9.7 million on motels in Hastings in 2019. Over 500 of our community were living in emergency motel accommodation. Hundreds of those were children and 73% were Māori. 2/3 of our visitor accommodation in a visitor economy was being used for emergency accommodation and to house RSE workers. And we had a small but growing homeless population. So it's easy to forget, but if you reflect today, when there are only 8 single male households left in emergency motel accommodation. It's been eliminated. We are nearly 800 houses have been built or under construction in Hastings across public, social, affordable and Papakainga. In the Māori housing space, we are one of 4 iwi housing prototypes. We've seen 19 new Papakainga sites, nearly 100 Papakainga homes built. We have a award-winning, sustainably funded, integrated day service for our homeless population. We have sleeping accommodation for our homeless that we didn't have in 2019. We have over 1,500 REC beds that have been built since we changed the district plan to allow that to happen on orchard and in industrial zones. We have over 1,000 affordable houses provided for in terms of the land and infrastructure that's now in the ground. We are building a once-in-a-generation piece of new infrastructure in terms of the wastewater spine down the expressway. $40 million, of which nearly half of that is coming from the government through the Infrastructure Acceleration Fund. Next Friday we will turn the sod on a 39-unit senior housing village in Flaxmere, the first addition to housing in over 4 decades in the council portfolio. That sits alongside the 36 4-bedroom homes that the Tai Whenua are building in Flaxmere through the same fund. So, it's easy to kind of, reel that out, but there has been a sustained focus for this organisation with our partners in the 5 years to the day since ministers announced their intentions to have Hastings as the place-based housing pilot. So, it's significant. And all of that's carried on at the same time we've been responding to Cyclone Gabriel. So I do want to acknowledge that Cyclone Gabriel has had a significant impact on this organisation's balance sheet and on our ratepayers, and it's happened at a time when the economic conditions are tough and we've got a cost of living crisis. This was a year where you had to make some really tough calls around the long-term plan for Hastings. And whilst we have secured over $600 million in government funding for Hastings recovery to date, we do still have a long way to go. We are in year 2 of what will be a 6 to 7 year transport recovery program. You made some difficult choices in your long-term plan, and that included that we have to pay our share of the voluntary buyer, our share of the transport recovery. That was the difficult decision for 14% of the first 2 years' rates increases, funding the recovery, the $235 million that we have to provision to borrow as our share that we have to repay and finance over a 16-year period. You tasked me as the Chief Executive to also find $2.7 million in permanent savings. We've found the $2.7 million for this year. That is an ongoing commitment that we, whilst the 2.7 this year isn't all permanent and locked in, we have plans to ensure that we continue to deliver that, and we will continue to work hard, as you will, in advocating for more government financial assistance and continue to look for efficiencies. So in summary, look, we are delivering to the plan and we're sticking to the plan and we're sticking to the fiscal strategy that you adopted. And I suppose my message is, whilst we're delivering a lot and there's a lot on, we do need to stick to the plan. And I do want to just finish by taking the opportunity, Your Worship, to thank you and the councillors for your leadership and hard work over 2024, to all of the community, to the volunteers, to the goodwill we've had from the community, to our partners, our contractors, everyone that's supporting the recovery. And I do want to finish by acknowledging and thanking in particular the staff of the organisation who, I believe are working hard and are dedicated to serving the community and its recovery. A shout out to my leadership team, to Craig Cameron, being the alternate controller, your new night job and writing council papers for what seemingly an ever-increasing number of council papers and council meetings, to Deputy Bruce, you know, it's been a pleasure to watch your evolution from a CFO to now the champion of all sorts of property, projects, to Craig. So, the transport area, infrastructure area is just massive. I mean, when we look at our long-term plan, $2 billion of forward capital expenditure over the next 10 years. I mean, we've got pretty good at capital delivery, but, it's been a step change. Can I acknowledge Graham Watson? We tease him about not being the CFO, but being the dream killer. He's brought a commercial perspective as CFO in terms of holding us to fiscal disciplines, about being deliberate, about cash is king, and it's been a great addition to Bex and the community services team. Look, the community connectors have been one of the best things that we did post the cyclone in terms of the relationship with those most affected and with our most impacted communities. And to Naomi and Bronwyn, I know often we don't shout out enough to the corporate functions that basically keep this machine going. And whilst everything doubles, there's double the bills to pay, staff and contractors to employ. It's been a massive year. So, Your Worship, that's enough from me. But yeah, certainly 2024 has been we say it every year, it's been a busy year, but this has certainly been a big year. I wish I could say it was going to be different in 2025, but the sobering thing, as Jim Palmer shared with many of you around the table and his experiences after the Christchurch earthquakes, is year one's the easy year, year two's a little bit tougher. It's actually years 3, 4 and 5 that are really, really tough when the distance from the event gets longer, when you get into tricky things. And need to acknowledge that there's still a lot of hurt in the community. The early part of next year, when we have coronial inquiries held in Hastings into the people that died, is going to be really tough for those families, but for all of the agencies that were involved. And so we've still got a long way to go, with recovery. We're making good progress. Unfortunately, this is going to be with us for another 5 or 6 years to get through the full recovery journey. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. And on behalf of us all, can we thank you and your executive lead team for an outstanding year. And there's no question we've seen how hard you've all worked, and there's no question that you have seen the fruits of your work come to fruition, and we're incredibly grateful for the difference you've made to our people who we represent. So thank you for your incredibly hard work. Happy to move from the chair. Have a second of thank you, Councillor Watkins. Any questions on the Chief Executive's end of year report? I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Now we move on to item 9, and we welcome the funding options for land transport. Welcome to Dawn and to Craig. Dawn, Craig?
Through Your Worship,
Yes.
just while Dawn's here, I know you've had a long day, so I'd like to take the report as read. You've largely worked through much of the detail of this, and also for those on the full council, the Rural Community Board had a discussion on this item at the start of this week as well. The report directs, primarily in terms of the recommendation, it directs the usage of local share funds only when there is subsidised funds to support. The report provides a pathway that is agile to changing in funding requirements, but also changing level of service. So it gives you the ability to reconfirm some of those elements. So, for example, we talked about in one of the sessions, we are light on footpath budget. We're about to get some updated footpath condition data. We will bring that back to you, and if it's highlighting significant issues, it gives you the ability to adjust for it. Importantly, given our financial situation, the report leaves some money in the bank account and doesn't draw it down. It also is just a quick update for the councillors. Some of you may have noted in the reading, when we spoke to you previously, we had no funding support, no opportunity of funding support for speed limit changes. That had changed, has now since changed, and the team are currently putting a funding submission in to get the NZTA subsidy to support the speed limit changes in and around the 70 schools we have. Also, just this week, NZTA have announced that there is a funding approach out of some of the funds which will allow us to apply for the associated improvement works, which basically allows us, when we renew a road, to renew them as modern equivalent. Happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Craig. Any questions to the team? Councillor Dixon?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Craig, something that was missing from the report that I was quite disappointed about was the Tomato Peak Road. It is a public road. And there's a huge health and safety issue with the lack of a speed bump right by the car park, the main car park, as people come around that corner. It has been planned, it has been designed, and Marius did this. We were promised funding as the Tomato Peak Trust from the 1st of July. I understand that the NZTA didn't come through with the funding. Is there any way that this can be funded before an accident happens? Because it's really dangerous. Thank you.
Through your worship, and Dawn can correct me if I've got this wrong. At the moment, the way that council was going to be funding that was some council funds and NZTA's minor safety or low cost, low risk funding. As the report points out, NZTA have not come to the party with any funding for safety outside of the major safety project at corner of Waimarama Road and Tamata Road. That's an item that we can come back to, particularly near the end of the year if there's an opportunity, or if council wants to direct us at a later date, perhaps through performance and monitoring. But at this point in time, this report is saying only fund items that have co-funding there.
So Councillor Dixon, I think that's something that we could look at in the annual plan time
Yeah, I
in the new year.
appreciate
Thank
that,
you.
but it's getting really dangerous. Something has to happen.
Thank you. We'll put that on the agenda for the new year. Thank you. Councillor Sholem?
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Mr. Thu, for the report, for you and your team. It's certainly a pragmatic way forward, trying to make the best of what subsidies we can get. We've had offline conversations about footpaths, and it's probably the number one thing that I get asked about. Just wondering if you could give us a very concise overview for the community who may be watching why this is an issue.
Through your worship, and again, I'll ask Dawn to correct me if I get the summary right, but we'll try and protect her voice as well. So, compared to the last 3 years, the funding that the council has received in terms of the 50-50 share, or their own 50-50 share, has substantially reduced the amount of funding that we've got, which is even less than the request, because we'd requested more money than we'd had in previous years, because we're just starting to see a few of the older footpaths starting to fail and requiring an increased work. And one of the downside also of having a really strong and great policy of street trees and shade is trees love to wreck footpaths. So the current policy, current council position is we have substantially less money to repair and to replace footpaths, and zero money to create any new footpaths. As I mentioned in my initial intro to this, as part of our condition assessment, council does do a wide independent assessment of the condition of our footpaths and rates them into as new to very poor. It is our officers' intent, once that condition survey is completed, to report back to council what is that story saying, what are the choices, and what options you may have within your financial availability.
Thank you.
Thank you. Follow up, Your Worship, if I may. Thank you, Mr. Thu. I'm wondering if we could take away as an action that that body of work also be fed through to the Disability Reference Group and our senior communities, as they're the most impacted, and they're the ones I'm repetitively hearing from. So I'd really love to find a way of linking them in, and also utilising them where appropriate to convey the challenge we face as a cyclone-ravaged district to central government when decisions like this have been made. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Worship. Mr. Thu, I note just in the last week, NZTA released a low-cost, low-risk fund. Will our organisation be applying for funds for that? And I appreciate it's not part of today's discussion.
Yes.
Thank you. Happy to move
Thank
the
you.
recommendations, Your Worship.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Sholem. Councillor Nixon.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I see there's an item of funding for public transport improvements. It's not great, so I presume it's mostly bus shelters, but perhaps you could just elaborate what is included there. And before you answer that question, can I ask, has any adjustment been made in the light of reduced government spending in support of public transport and the likely impact that might have on both the routes and the frequency of services?
Through you, Your Worship, just firstly to clarify, Council in its long-term plan had put aside money to fund infrastructure at bus stops. What this report is saying is we have zero support from NZTA, so we won't be investing anything in terms of seats and shelters at our bus stops. The team, as opportunities arise, may look to find some of the bus shelters we have are sponsored, and so therefore, because they have ads on them. It's not my place to say, in terms of the management of the public transport system itself, that's an item that the Regional Council work through, and with the change of funding from NZTA, but the national piece through that is there's an expectation across the country that the fare box returns, so the cost of a user has to pay more of a share of running it, and it will be interesting across the country and in particular in our community what that does to patronage.
Yes, I guess the question is mostly about will we be reviewing our plans for support for public transport in the event that government funding is reduced, which it already has been, and the likely consequences of the Regional Council having to adjust to that.
Through Your Worship, I will continue to work with our partner at Regional Council who manage the public transport system, but just as I mentioned, apart from looking after road markings and placing signs, we have no investment in this plan currently under this policy on public transport.
Thank you. I have a mover and a seconder. I'll put their recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Thank you very much, Dawn. Welcome to you, Bruce. Bruce Conahan, our Transport Policy and Planning Manager. This is the authorisation for additional crossing place in Morakakapo Road. Welcome to you, Bruce. Item 10, councillors.
Your Worship, I'm happy to move this.
Thank you.
Happy to second, Your
Thank
Worship.
you, Councillor Butto. Have a mover and a seconder. That was just have any questions on this paper, councillors? Any comments? No questions or comments. Very well written paper, self-explanatory. Thank you, Bruce. Oh, you sat there all that time. I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful work, Bruce. Thank you. Awesome. Right, moving on to item 11. And this is the appointments to Strategy and Recovery Committee. Welcome to Louise.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are a couple of vacancies for Heretaunga Takatoa Noa Māori Standing Committee appointees on our Strategy and Recovery Committee and our Performance and Monitoring Committee. So this report is just outlining the recommendations from that committee to fill those vacancies.
Thank you. Councillor Sholem.
Would be thrilled to move the recommendations, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Sholem. Councillor Fowler.
And to second.
Thank you, Councillor Fowler. Councillor Kerr.
I do have a question.
Thank you.
Question to Louise for the next triennium. I wonder whether these should be positions rather than names. Because that would then allow Heretaunga Takatoa during the course of their triennium to have the best two people or the most suitable two people, or if somebody's on leave, another person. So it's more just an idea to take away for next time.
Thank you. We'll take that as an action. Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Do I have a mover and a seconder? I'm going to put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Right, the Goimas, the Local Government Information and Meetings Act. Any questions on the list of requests? Happy to move from the chair, seconded councillor Nixon. Any questions on the Lagoimas? I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. Proposed amendments to meeting schedules. Once again, Louise, did you have anything to add to your paper?
Nothing really to add, Your Worship, but yeah, there's probably just been quite a few changes. We got some local government New Zealand dates come through just after you approved your meeting schedule, so a few adjustments had to be made there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Happy to move from the chair. Councillor Watkins, second. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you, that is carried. Right, now we move to item 15. So item 15, item 13, no, 14 is there's no minor items. Item 15, urgent items, supplementary agenda. I'll ask Mr. Bickle, our Chief Executive, to explain why we have this extra item.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, when the agenda was prepared, critical information to support the agenda item was not received in a time for it to be included on the agenda. And the reason why the agenda item can't be delayed to a subsequent meeting is that decisions are required urgently on this matter to support wider decisions that are time-bound and could not wait for either an additional meeting to be set or the next scheduled council meeting.
Thank you. So, Councillor, the recommendations are that the council resolve to deal with this item of business not on the agenda, which cannot be delayed. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Dixon, seconder. Councillor Lawson. Any questions on why we've included this item in this agenda today? Thank you. We have a mover and a second. I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Now we move to item 16, which is a recommendation to exclude the public from item 17 and 18. I'll ask Mr. Cameron if he could talk us through why these items should be public excluded.
Through Madam Chair, there's two items recommended to be on your agenda, recommended to be heard in public exclusion. Both items relate to council being or either in or entering into a period of negotiation on commercial matters. The matters at this time involve consideration of commercially sensitive information both for council and external parties, so it's recommended during this period that these matters be considered in public exclusion for the protection of negotiation position and commercially sensitive information.
Thank you. Any questions on these items, whether they should be in public excluded? Any questions? Any comments? We have a mover and a seconder, please. Thank you. Councillor Sholem, Councillor Hickey. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Just before we leave our public part, just to allow any external members to join us. This is Mr. Sam Saunders and Ruth Allen from the Property Group and Brian Donnelly be permitted to present via Zoom after the public has been excluded. Thank you, Councillor Sholem, seconded Councillor Hickey. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. Just before we complete our public part of our meeting today, and as we have heard today, what a significant year it has been and how we have navigated it together as a team. And I'm truly grateful for you, your leadership, your incredible hard work. And as I would like to acknowledge you, this year we don't have the budget for any gifts, but we do have a card with a centre. So if I'd like to call Councillor Teo Skipworth, and I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for your incredible hard mahi. Councillor Dixon. Oh, you're a legend. Thank you so much. Councillor Nixon. There's some very special words in here for you. I know it's going to be a different Christmas for you this year, so
Yeah, it is very different. It's been a tough year. Thank you, thank you.
Councillor Hickey. Councillor Fowler. And the beautiful scented chai. Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful leadership. Thank you so much. Oh, amazing. Councillor Monteperto Hendry. Our hana. With no sparkles today at Christmas time. Tonight. It's been wonderful to have your passion. Thank you. Councillor Corbyn. It's not a lot, but it means a lot. Always the best. Councillor Butto. It has been wonderful to serve you and my chauffeur. Well done. Councillor Harvey. Councillor Shalom. Councillor Apatu. I'll leave Kelly's for next week when I see her. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Kerr. You say, take it home, put it in the Christmas, put it under the tree. I wore my red suit for a reason. Councillor Lawson. Councillor Watkins.
Yeah, Father Christmas.
Well, that concludes our thank yous, and thank you to our community. No, but that's all right. And to our lead team, after writing 15 cards last night, yours are coming next week. So I've got the little centres, but the cards are still waiting to be written. So you'll get yours next week because we haven't finished yet. So on behalf of us all, thank you. Oh, well, I'll write yours tonight, Bruce. And to our community who've worked so hard, who've been there in the background to support us all along the way, Merry Christmas to you all. Here's all the very best to our beautiful 2025 May it be happy and bright for everybody. Kia ora koutou katoa.
Kia ora, Sandra. Just on behalf of the council, right back at you. Thank you for your incredible leadership, not just of us as a team of governors or of this organisation working alongside Chief Executive Nigel, but as a leader of our community. Your heart is so embedded in this place and it shines through. So on behalf of us all, very Merry Christmas to you, a very restful New Year, and may 25, in your words, be calm and bright. Thank you, Ms. Sandra.
Chief just said it was supposed to be calm and bright in 2024, but it's going to be calm and bright in 2025. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your lovely words, Tan. And now shall we break for a cup of tea? Kia ora.